Welcome back to BSTT. It's Ben here, and today I'm giving you my way too early NHL standings prediction. So let's get right into the video. So, starting off with the Metropolitan Division, the first place team I have is the Carolina Hurricanes. I watched the Hurricanes all season, or not, that's a lie. I watched them whenever they played the Rangers, and I think they're a good team. Do I think they're going to win it all next year? No. I think that, and also, do I think they're the best team in the Metro? No. But do I think they're going to be first in the Metro? Yes. They have a great team. They're a really well-rounded team. Where they have veterans like Jordan Stahl and Vinny Trocheck and Nino Niederreiter. And then they also have young superstars like Seth Jarvis, Andrei Svechnikov, Sebastian Aho, Teuvo Teravainen. And then they also have Jacob Slavin, who I think is a top 10 defenseman in the league. But the one thing is, I don't know how they're going to afford it next year, because they traded for players like Max Domi, and then Tony DeAngelo is on a 1-year contract, so that's going to be a hefty extension. I hate him. But yeah, so that's my only thing about Carolina. But next, we have the New York Rangers, my favorite team. I'm not biased, or I'm biased, but I try not to be by not putting them in first. Although, I think that they have an actual shot to win the Cup next year. They made it to the conference finals this year, and technically they came in third in the league because Edmonton got swept. But same thing. Rangers, our problems this offseason, we got to decide who we keep and who we don't. But for one thing, we better dump Strome because he costed us the season with his empty net misses. And we saw a lot of growth from the kid line, and we're going to put, hopefully next year, if we bring back Cop, our top six will be our first line. Maybe our first line will be Kreider, Mika, and Panarin. Our second line will be the kid line. And our third line will be Cop, Mott, and if we bring back Vetrano, then him. Or we could put Kravtsov there because we signed him. And we look great at everything. Then we have the Islanders. Islanders had an off year this year, but they fired Trotz. And they have next year to give Wallstrom all the time he needs. And I think he could help bring them over the hump. They also have 2 starting goalies, which is good, but I think if they wanted to trade Varlamov and get a good player for him, that would be beneficial, and it could help them. The Devils, I don't know. I just see it in Jack Hughes. He's that good of a player. I have a feeling he's going to bring them to the promised land. If him, Dougie Hamilton, Jesper Bratt, they have a good team. And Nico Hischier. But their one weakness is goaltending, so they could either run it back with Mackenzie Blackwood for a year or sign a free agent. And that will determine if they make it into the playoffs or not. The next two, the Penguins and the Capitals, I feel they're starting to get up there in age. And being honest, the Penguins, they have too many free agents. Like, although Malkin and Letang, they said they're going to come back. And they're going to play for 3 more years. You never know. Malkin's going to chase the bag this offseason. He's going to want like 7 to 8 million, and Pittsburgh's not going to give him that. And with the Capitals, they're just getting up there in age. Ovi's great. They have a great team individually, but if they're not staying healthy, their goaltending's not good enough. In all honesty, I think it's time to start the rebuild again. Columbus has a really underrated team, but the Metro Division's too stacked, and that's why they're in 7th. And Philly, I saw great things out of Owen Tippett and Bobby Brink last year, but they're not that good of a team. And they're not going to be in the playoffs anytime soon. Atlantic Division. Number 1 and 2, we could talk about it as the same thing. They're both 2 of the best teams in the league. They have the best players. They're going to be great. Tampa's currently down 3-1 in the Cup Finals, trying to get a three-peat. And Toronto, although they can't get out of the first round, they have 5 All-Stars on their team. And now they have Jason Spezza in management, so they'll be fine. My biggest hot take here is Buffalo Sabres as the 3 seed. Buffalo was terrible last year and had a better year this year, but I could see them being the 3 seed. They have Tage Thompson, who looks unbelievable. Jeff Skinner, who although is not worth the $9 million a year he's getting, he played good last year. You have Dallin, who is just a remarkable defenseman. Who else do they have? They have Jack Quinn and Owen Power, who, once they get some time, they could shine. I have a feeling they'll be just fine next year, except for their goaltending thing. I love Craig Anderson, but they need a better goalie than him. The Panthers, they won the Presidents this year. They were great, but Claude Giroux's not going to go back, and you have no future. You have nothing. They're going to be a good team because they have a few good players like Bobrovsky, Ekblad, Reinhart, Barkov, and Huberdeau, and Weegar, but besides them, they don't have that good of a team. The Bruins fired Bruce Cassidy, and I think this is going to be the end of them. They've been great for the last how many years? 10 or so. But their core is getting older. Bergeron, Marchand, and they can't give all the keys to the castle to the young guys in McAvoy and Pasternak because they haven't, although they're great, they still need veteran leadership. And if Bergeron leaves especially, they're only going to be the 5 seed. Detroit had 2 great rookies this year. Congrats to Saturn winning Rookie of the Year. But they do not have anything that special to get them in the playoffs. And Ottawa and Montreal are still going to be bottom feeders. Brady Tkachuk's great. Nick Suzuki's great. Are they playoff teams, though? No. They probably won't be for a while because the East is stacked. Pacific Division. Calgary Flames will make it in without a doubt. They are by far the best team in the Pacific. They will be the number 1 seed for a while. Johnny Gaudreau is elite. Matt Tkachuk is elite. Elias Lindholm is good. Tyler Toffoli, if they bring him back, is great. Sean Monahan has been weak over the last few years, but I think he's still solid. You have Dylan Dubé and Andrew Mangiapane, who are good young players. You have Milan Lucic, who brings a physical aspect. Rasmus Anderson, Oliver Shillington, Noah Hannafin. You have all these great defensemen. You have a great team. Jacob Markstrom, I'm not the biggest fan of him. I think he's a solid goalie, but I think he's good for your team. And you're just great. They should, without a doubt, win the division or come in second to Edmonton, who has the greatest player we've seen in a while and the most skilled player of all time in Connie McDavid. And they also have Draisaitl, who, although I think he's kind of overrated, he's still he's still an all-star and a superstar. And you've got Nugent Hopkins, you've got Evander Kane, you got Zach Hyman, you have Keller Yamamoto, Jesse Puljujarvi, Warren Fogle. Your team is great. On D, I think you look to move on from Barry this offseason, but you still have Nurse and a bunch of other guys, Clefbaum, but goaltending's your issue. Mikko Koskinen and Mike Smith is a terrible goalie tandem. I know it was a few weeks ago now, but can't stop laughing whenever I see the video of when the puck went in on Mike Smith when someone shot it from center ice. And he was like, I didn't see it. You're a goalie. You're supposed to see it. was bad, but that's someone you really want as your starting goalie? No. I think he'd be a fine backup, but not a good starter. Next, we have Vancouver. They had a really bad start last year, but towards the end of the year, they were great. And they had JT Miller, who had 99 points. I feel bad for him because he didn't get that one more. And they also had Brock Besser, Bo Horvat, and Elias Pettersson, who are all good players. On D, you have Quinn Hughes, who is an elite defenseman. And you also have Niels Haglander, who is a very solid prospect. In that, you have Thatcher Demko, I think Thatcher Demko is, or he's not yet, but he's getting close to being a top 5 goalie in the league. I've liked what I've seen out of him, and he's good, young, and great. At 4, we have Vegas. The Golden Knights are a disappointment after last year. They didn't make the playoffs when they had Mark Stone, Jack Eichel, Jonathan Marchessault, Alex Pietrangelo, who else is there? Robin Leonard, Max Pacioretty. This team had so many All-Stars, but they didn't make it. But I think no matter what, they make it this year. But salary cap's going to be their issue, so yeah. 5, San Jose. San Jose's window to make the playoffs is coming to an end. They're great. They have a bunch of good players, but they're just having to deal with injuries, which isn't good. If this team was like this 5 years ago, or it was these players 5 years ago, they'd be the best team in the league. You'd have the 2 best defensemen and have a bunch of great forwards. But it's not that anymore, and it's the future. The LA Kings made the playoffs this year, but say the least, I wasn't that impressed by them, and they're not going to make it. And they're relying too much on Anze Kopitar, Drew Doughty, and Jonathan Quick, who are starting to get up there in age, and their young players haven't developed enough yet. I think the Kraken won't come in dead last after last year, but I think they'll still be poor, and I don't get what Ron Francis did draft their team. And the Anaheim Ducks, we're almost done with this one. The Ducks, I think, although they have a bunch of good pieces, they're not ready to move on from Ryan Getzlaf, which they did. Getzlaf, although he's not that significant of a player, he has the veteran leadership, and they traded away a bunch of their players last year at the deadline, and they're just not a fit together team. In the Central Division, I don't need to talk about Colorado because we all know how good they are. They're up 3-1, and although yesterday's goal with Kadri, the game winner, was controversial, they're that good. This team has a bunch of great players. And a bunch of good young ones who are developing, like New Hook and Bowen Byram. On the Predators, I think they're going to have a big jump up to be in second. They have the line of Duchesne, Forsberg, and Johansson, and who is great. The 3 of them are elite. You have Tanner Jeannot, who is a great rookie. And then you have Roman Josi, who had 96 points as a defenseman. And you have UC Saros, who, great goalie. Minnesota, although they have a really good first line of Fiala, Zook, and Kaprizov, and they have a dirty defenseman in Spurgeon after the ankle thing. Still caught up on that. I don't think they're going to be as good as this year. You could take them and St. Louis interchangeably, but they're going to rely on Kaprizov too much, and he's going to get injured, and then they're going to fall apart. St. Louis also, they have a bunch of good players, but a bunch of them are starting to get older, and I just don't see it in them. The Dallas Stars, this team intrigues me, and although I put them at 5, I think they could be anywhere from 5 to 2. That's the range that they're going to be in. You have playoff Joe Pavelski. You have Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson. You have the veterans in Radulov, Ben, and Sagan. You have Miro Heiskanen and John Klingberg. You have Esa Lindell. You have goaltending's your weak spot, as you have Britton Holtby, which this was 4 years ago. Saying Britton Holtby was your weak spot would be incredible, but you had him, Kudobin, and Wedgwood this year. Oh, I'm an idiot. I forgot about Jake Ottinger. Jake, you have no weak spot. Jake Ottinger is incredible. But yeah, next Chicago. Chicago had Patrick Kane, who popped off for them this year, and they have Alex DeBrincat. You have Seth Jones, who some people call overrated. I call him fairly rated. I think he's a solid defenseman. They're not a playoff team. You can't have Patrick Kane carry a team. When you have one player carry your team, you're not that good of a team. And then Winnipeg, this team has been a disappointment the last few years. You have Pierre-Luc Dubois, Blake Wheeler, Josh Morrissey, Nikola Ehlers, Mark Scheifele, and Kyle Connor. That should be a playoff team, but they don't perform. That's why I had them so low. But let's see them impress me this year and get in. And then 8, we have the bottom-feeding Arizona Coyotes, who I think for their expectations, they're perfect. Right where they want to be. They're the worst team in the league, and they're rebuilding. But that is my predictions that are way too early for next year. Please like, subscribe, and have a nice day. I'll see you in the next video. Also, by the way, I'm going to be really busy this summer as I'm not going to be home. So I'm going to upload much less frequency. Like, it could range from once a week, or actually it's not going to be once a week, from like once every 2 weeks to once every 4 weeks. I'm sorry, but I'm just really going to be busy. But bye. Have a nice day.